asking him why he once again crosses his path and who the hell he is. So our protagonist, with all due respect, introduces himself by his name and points out that he is rank E. Obviously, the purple-haired guy does not believe him at all, and even Mr. Sun looks completely astonished. It is then that he thinks out loud. Well, if our Sung Jin-woo were one of the most bulky and strong guys, he would understand his strength. However, his reflexes allowed him to block 2 of his attacks. So he asks whether he might be hiding his true power, although he also knows that everyone is known and even officially registered. Thus, only one possibility comes to mind, that he may have had a second awakening. Upon hearing this, his 2 companions are extremely shocked, so one of them mentions that it surely must have happened in the double dungeon. And when he hears that, the purple-haired man remembers the useless rank E, who only had an aptitude of 10. But be that as it may, he does not have much experience as a hunter. So he pulls out a second knife, since he will teach him a couple of things. And before starting the fight, our protagonist asks him why he did it, and this guy thinks he is referring to the convicts, so he replies that he fulfilled a request from the victim's father, and basically it was so that there would be justice. But at that moment, Sung Jin-woo interrupts him, because he is referring to the other 2, since if it was only to silence them, he could have killed them cleanly. Thus, he accuses him, saying that he is not doing this for any victim at all. And so we are shown the other side of the flashback, where Supervisor K, after receiving the money offer, rejects it and tells the victim's father that he joined the Hunters Association because he enjoys killing human beings more than monsters. Thus, the flashback ends, and they begin to exchange clean blows, because it is clearly noticeable that both are moving at the same speed. Then the purple-haired man cheats by throwing dirt into his eyes, taking advantage of that to land several slashes. So while still standing, our protagonist asks him to restrain his urge to kill him a little, because otherwise the system will force him to kill him. And at the same time he is speaking, the system tells Sung Jin-woo, kill him. Thus, our protagonist has no other choice and releases his power. Upon hearing all this, Kang does not understand what he means by, quote, system. So in an instant, he is surprised by a slash from our black-haired hero. And even though the poison takes effect, nothing happens to him at all. So both begin to exchange attacks, and the purple-haired man mentions that he also has some tricks to show him. Then, facing our protagonist's attack, the guy disappears, since he knows that Sung Jin-woo has good intuition, and what he just did is basically erase his presence completely. Others know this as the stealth skill, which erases the user's shape, smell, and sound. Moreover, he reveals that only a few assassins possess it, and likewise, he tells him that almost no one knows that he can actually use it, because everyone who has seen him like this has not survived. While he gives him tremendous slashes, he knows that he has reduced his speed. But to Kei's surprise, our protagonist heals quickly, stating that he does not know any warrior who uses healing magic, and he also does not know how many more times he will be able to use that trick. Meanwhile, Sung Jin-woo realizes that he is losing more and more of his emotions, and he is not even angry anymore at the scum in front of him. And with the aura that now emanates from our black-haired hero, Kei deduces that Sung Jin-woo has also killed people. So he proceeds to erase his presence and attack again, but now our favorite guy dodges the attacks with great ease, making the assassin wonder whether the guy is detecting him through his bloodlust. So he decides to increase his speed, knowing that this way he will not be able to be located exactly. And then Sung Jin-woo consumes him with his aura and traps him in a genjutsu, where he finally delivers the finishing blow. Even so, with his last breath, he asks Sung Jin-woo what he really is, because he does not know any assassin who uses healing magic or buffs. But our protagonist would also like to know what he really is, so he does not know how to answer him. And the guy, still bleeding from the mouth, warns him that he will no longer be able to hide. So our black-haired hero tells him that he is a hunter who grows stronger battle after battle. With this answer, the assassin smiles, because he knows that his shadow connects with the darkness, and the bigger it becomes, the stronger he will be. But he warns him to be very careful, because when one stares at the abyss for too long, the abyss stares back. And now, yes, the guy dies. Thus, our protagonist obtains his stealth skill. Then Mr. Sun and his friend Yi thank him for having saved them, but Sung Jin-woo, far from being happy, warns them to leave the dungeon quickly, because he himself will seal it by eliminating the final boss. Since they trust him completely, they obey him. And after that, once the dungeon is sealed, the blonde supervisor arrives before them, who is already aware of everything that happened. In front of the three of them, he apologizes for what his employee did, and then directly asks them which of them defeated Supervisor K. While our protagonist thinks that, unfortunately, if they find out, he will have to forget about Jinwoo's proposal, Mr. Sun saves him by explaining that he defeated him, thanks to the rank B healer. Even though the blonde man doubts it, he asks them to accompany him to write the report. Meanwhile, our black-haired hero keeps observing him, because he knows he cannot let his guard down just for having defeated a rank B purple-haired man. After all, the person in front of him is rank A, and in his current state, he could not defeat him. Then he hears Mr. Sun's voice, who understands that Sung Jinwoo must have his reasons to hide his power, so he asks him to consider this act as a way of giving thanks. In addition to that, Jin Chul warns our protagonist about something. Since he and Jin Ho survived the dungeon where Mr. Song's brother died, there is a possibility that he will now go after them. Elsewhere, Yin informs them that she is going to retire because she does not feel capable of continuing to work as a hunter due to the overwhelming fear she feels. So she will return to her family and work in their family business. Thus, our protagonist and Jin Ho began their small adventure in Rank C portals, after recruiting 6 hunters, whom Jin Ho would pay 300,000 won per raid, under strict contract conditions. Yes, per incursion, but they are forbidden to mention anything about that, because otherwise they would be charged 10 times that amount. And yes, everything written under contract among these hunters. There would also be the best friend of our protagonist's little sister, yes, this little girl called Han Son-jae, who, well, does not really appear much, but she does appear repeatedly. The point is that Arzun did several dungeons together with Shinho while the others stayed outside. That is how he kept leveling up. But after several dungeons, our protagonist eventually had this guy appear, Sanam, the head of administration of the 2nd Division of the White Tiger Guild. Well, yes, in this country of South Korea, there are 5 guilds. On one side, we have the Hunters, which is the guild of the red-haired Choi Hoin, who is the rank S guild master, and also where Chain is, who is another rank S adventurer who is going to be very important in the future. Then we have the other 4 guilds. There is the Fame Guild, the Knights Guild, the Demon Guild, and lastly, the White Tiger Guild, this one being led by Baek John-hoo, for whom this guy works. And since he saw that Jinho had been buying many Rank C portals, he started to investigate him, thus learning that our Rank E protagonist survived several dungeon catastrophes, so he assumed that he had a second awakening. That is how he went to invite him to join his guild. But Sung Jinwoo said no. The persistent man then tells him, "Hey kid, I will pay you double what Jinho pays you." So here our hero asks him, "Would you pay me 6 billion?" This leaves the guy with a complete "what the hell" expression. Even though our protagonist was annoyed because the man had investigated him, he limited himself to threatening him so that he would not tell anyone, saying that if anyone found out about his secret, he would go after him. With that, they reached a good agreement. He also convinced him to sell him 3 portals that Jinho had bought for 600,000, although in reality he scammed him, because those were portals Jinho planned to cancel anyway. After that, much cheaper portals started appearing. Then a secret mission appeared for a class change, opening a portal that took him to a castle full of knights, which he could defeat using only brute force. There were mages, archers, assassins, a bit of everything, and by defeating them he obtained items such as armor that becomes invisible when equipped. But there was a small problem. He could not leave the dungeon until completing it, and he could not use healing or mana potions. Worse still, when he reached the king's room, it was not only empty, but the place was guarded by the chivalrous knight in brilliant red armor named Igris, who was in charge of defending the throne. Yes, not only did he look imposing, but he was also the final boss. So when the battle began, Igris gave our protagonist a brutal beating because he was super strong, fast, agile, and he tossed Jinwoo around like a doll. Even so, he did not give up, and with his last strength, he managed to stab his dagger right into his neck, taking advantage of that chance to return all the blows he had received, finally defeating Igris. He leveled up once again and obtained as a reward Igris's S-rank helmet, along with one of his abilities that allows him to manipulate objects at a distance, and a lot of gold for a shop. Still, he is more interested in the ability which, even though it is currently at level 1, allows him to move small objects basically as if he were moving them with his mind, almost like telekinesis. But the mission was not over yet. Immediately, many knights appeared along with several mages, accompanied by a system message. Yes, the class change mission had just begun. He is told to brace himself, take his time, and prepare for the imminent battle. The system even wishes him good luck, because he will truly need it. His main task now is to survive as long as possible. Thus, he faces a huge, endless horde of knights. Unable to use potions, little by little he becomes exhausted, feels fatigue, accumulates many wounds, and begins to see hallucinations. He hears himself saying that he should give up, that he is going to die anyway, and questioning why he keeps trying, filled with extremely pessimistic thoughts. But no, because we remember that he has protagonist luck. And yes, it turns out our guy forgot to complete the daily mission, and right at the exact moment when a knight was about to finish him off, he was miraculously transported to the penalty zone. Basically, the system saved him, but now he is no longer as weak as the first time he was there, being able to face those monsters, eliminate them, and level up. And as he levels up, his body heals completely. Thanks to the system shop, he also bought a new dagger, specifically the Knight Slayer dagger, which deals extra percentage damage to armored enemies. Once the punishment time ends, he is transported back to the castle, where he defeats all the knights much more easily. There, he also realizes that the real targets were the mages, because the knights gave no experience at all since they were summoned by the mages themselves. So he begins killing them one by one until the survivors gather together and, like cowards, fuse the corpses of all the others. Even so, Jinwoo eliminates this giant with a single attack, completing the mission that now allowed him to change class. However, he could not choose it, because the system would assign a class adapted to him based on his performance. And so the system understood that the player, meaning our protagonist, wanted to grow stronger and gain power. Therefore, it granted him the Necromancer class, which allows him to summon the dead and control them at will, creating his own army of undead, hidden within his shadow, which would obviously follow only him. Naturally, he can summon and store them whenever he wants, but first they must be dead. Then he can activate the soul extraction spell, which works with a specific phrase. The detail is that this is not 100% effective because it depends on how long the target has been dead and on their willpower to resist. Even so, this Necromancer class only lasted a few seconds because he gained too many points, triggering a second class change, evolving from Necromancer to Shadow Monarch. Yes, it sounds very powerful, but it is almost the same. With this, Jinwoo creates a small army of knights and mages. However, the one he truly wanted in his army was Igris. On the first attempt, he refused. On the second, he also refused. But on the third and final attempt, Jinwoo tells him, "Come on, my handsome knight in shining armor. Either you stay here dead, guarding a throne for someone who may never return, or you follow me, because I am the protagonist for a reason." And well, that worked. Igris joined his army. Elsewhere, S-rank hunters from different guilds joined forces to investigate Jeju Island, an island they had already visited twice before, where many rank A and S hunters died. In both cases, there were too many casualties, and even the strongest hunters returned traumatized, suffering nightmares from losing loved ones. This time, however, they would only investigate. But when they arrive, they are shocked to find that the island's monsters, the ants that had troubled even the highest ranks, have begun to evolve, developing wings. And here, my dear friend, you might ask, what is the problem? Well, let me explain. If monsters this strong already gave trouble to the highest-ranked hunters when they were confined to the island and could only move on land, what would happen if they suddenly gained wings and the ability to fly? The answer is obvious. They would fly off the island and attack